Chief Security Officer at Fiverr. For those of you who don't know Fiverr, Fiverr is an online marketplace for freelancers, bringing together buyers and sellers, selling everything you can imagine online, such as logos, Fiverr. Oh, sorry, but because it's in English. So this is Fiverr. Okay. Fiverr was founded 9 years ago, and only in the last year they brought CISO on board. So this is my journey.
They waited 9 years until they find you.
Yeah, it's a very good point. What took them so long? Usually you bring a chief security officer before something happens, or something, or after something. Exactly. Post-mortem it happened because of the IPO, I suppose.
After you generally replace.
Sorry.
After you will be replaced.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so it's not like I got into Fiverr and there was nothing there. It was a vacuum and no security activities going on whatsoever. They did a lot of things. They did a lot, and Fiverr had a very good DNA of implementing security solutions, and it's a very important part of the culture. You can see as part of the timeline that there was a huge AWS migration from Rackspace, implementing a lot of security features as part of the way. They implemented the WAF and the bot detection. Everything that they did was as a result of something that happened before they actually did the action. And no proactive measures, but a lot of activities. So very dense timeline, and only in the beginning of January I was brought on board, and I had to take a decision. And it reminds me a trip I did to New Zealand back in 2002. When I was traveling to New Zealand after I quit the army, I remember that the main headline was about a snake sneaking from the mainland, from Australia. It took the headline for something like 3 weeks, so they had a lot of their mind. And New Zealanders are very, very busy and had a lot of risks and stuff like that. But I remember another story from that trip. I remember that they put a lot of effort on pesting opossums. Apparently opossums had outnumbered the number of ships in New Zealand. And it bothered the authorities so much that they did a lot to make them go away. And when I came into Fiverr and when I on board and on my first day, I was afraid that this is what is going to happen to me. After 9 years after this company was established, bringing someone from the outside, corporate chief security officer, can make a lot of differences, can start all over again, can break a lot of stuff. And this was my most prominent fear at the time, to become an apostle. So everything I did afterwards was to avoid that, try and avoid being an apostle at Fiverr. So day one looked, and I remember that, was very, very confusing. A lot of moving parts. When you usually come to a new company, there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of dependencies, a lot of very interesting people, and you usually go to 1 or 2 onboarding sessions with some of the business line managers, and you see that it's amazing what can go on in a company that I wasn't even realized was an Israeli company before. So I had a lot of in my mind to learn. And the first thing I did was to draw a map, a logical map of what Fiverr really is, what is my domain, what should I protect, and how can I describe my 100% of realm. So that was the first priority on my part. The second priority was about risk management or asset mapping. So I need to take this domain, split it into assets, workflows, and people, and processes, and try to find a way to combine risk or to attach risk to those assets. And it took me something like the first quarter just to get an understanding about the scope of the business, to fully understand what Fiverr really is. It's not only about Fiverr, it's true for every company you may come into in your future career. It's very, very difficult. You need to prioritize, you need to be very organized about how you need to tackle stuff. So what was my solution to tackle this complexity? First, I took a very classic risk-driven approach, and the first step was to do an asset mapping. Meet with key stakeholders, group managers for R&D, product managers which see everything. This is the main key personnel for you. Meet business managers, high executives, IT, and so on, and try and map our assets. And I remember after we did that, we came up to a list of high-value assets. It's a short list of things that we want to protect. And then we need to validate it. It's not enough that we, as IT and security, decide that we want to protect something. We need to take it to our CEO. And I remember this discussion. He told Micha, the CEO, we don't mind if you want us, we can just guard your Porsche outside, and this is going to be our work from now on. If you want, we can do that. But he said no. Come up with a list of high-value assets and stick to it. This is what needs to guide you from now on, and this is what you need to protect more. So that was the list of things that we came up with. A very short list, but a very sticky one. So the next step was to attach risks to assets, or map, or cross-reference risk to assets. And we did that by creating a table that represents the assets. You can see it on the left, and adding another layer of weights. First was the IP. Every risk needs to represent a threat to our IP. It can be either nothing, or it can be a very significant risk, but it needs to be weighted against other risks. Another consideration was our brand. A lot of the attacks these days are all about brand and reputation. They don't impact our systems. Think about someone posting something on Twitter and saying bad stuff about your company, for example. It has zero effect on your infrastructure, but it has a lot of effect on your brand. And narrative, it's everything in the fake news era, so we need to take it into consideration. So that's another very important way. And of course, data. We have business and personal data, and it also needs to be weighted against other risks. Other considerations that, in combination with all the others, contributed to the level of risks are probability, whether it's going to happen, in my opinion. Did it happen in the past? If we've seen it in the past, then we need to get higher score. And of course, if we know about it. And apparently, I've discovered a lot of risks that were known for years. Nobody did anything to prevent it, but everybody knew about it. So it needs to be weighted again. Okay, so next was the most challenging aspect of every security officer, prioritizing. Usually when you bring a new security officer on board, you create a huge funnel of IoTs and IOCs, and a lot of security threats and indications and stuff like that. You get it from peers, you get it from your monitoring systems, and you just throw it away on the company. Just push everything to the company and expect them to do something about it. And this is wrong. We need to create a funnel. We need to utilize it somehow so the company can digest it properly. If you bring too much, it creates what we call security fatigue. And then people start hating. From good, you become an apostle. So remember that. And how we did that? The best way we've come up with something that my manager brought from a previous company, steering committee. Steering committee, it's a very good mechanism to manage your risks and prioritize your tasks. how do you do that? So remember all the weights that I've just showed you? They populate to a security risk. You get a number, and when you get a number, you can prioritize it very easily. And by prioritizing, if you add two other layers, you can come up with a plan. The first layer is whether it's difficult to execute. If it requires a lot of effort, then we need to rethink it. For example, this is a very good item, risk B is a very good item to discuss as part of the steering committee, because it requires a lot of effort, but it carries a high risk. So it needs to be prioritized, but it requires the CTO to push something else aside and work on that, to fix it. But you have quick wins. This for example, is a quick win because it gets high score and it's very easy to execute. Okay, long-hanging fruit. And this is how you prioritize. And when you create a culture of prioritizing stuff, it makes everything else easier because it was signed, CTO saw it, approved it. That's it. It's going to be part of the next year plan, and you should be okay. Just do the follow. Next, I've discovered as a very unorganized person that the best way to do this and to work in multi-channels is to measure yourself to death. So I've created a Monday dashboard with a lot of, I just put together all my tasks, all the dependencies. I've added some other layers to make sure that I know to which domain it belongs to, what type of effort, how many days, who is going to do it. I added another nice quantity measurement that I need to ask myself, how am I going to be available to carry this task, and how high quality it's going to be. I've discovered that a lot of the activities that were in poor quality after they were delivered and I wasn't too available were a very good baseline or very good indication of what I need next for next year. What type of assistance do I need in order to do it better next time. So if, for example, I saw that a lot of my product security tasks are being carried out in a poor way, I do it very superficial. Thank you. Nice, very good. If I do it whatever, I need someone to help me. I need to do it better next time. I need to measure it because my managers requires numbers. We act on numbers. We react to numbers. And this is the only coin they understand. So some of the things that we did last year, I was very focused about everything that is client or internet facing. So S3 scans were very on my radar. I did manually at first. Now I use tools to do it for me. But again, it was presented up to the board. The audit committee actually was very keen to know what are we doing in terms of protecting our S3 buckets. So everybody understands the importance of protecting S3 buckets. A lot of visibility activities, a lot of vendor management I discovered after analyzing my tasks and my Monday board that I do a lot of manual risk assessments. So we've added third-party tool to help us with this process, to semi-automate. What I'm going to do next year. So again, this is something that was derived from both the ISO process we're in at the moment, and as part of my feedback from last year, we're going to increase monitoring, and we're going to do a lot of monitoring activities to help us better understand what's going on inside our systems. And we have other activities such as SSDLC, mostly training and providing more and more tools for the teams to do the work on their own. Because again, we are very limited in resources. When I say we, it's me. Okay, I am the entire department. provision and populate tasks for the team. This is the main concern for me. Another very interesting thing that is going to be done next year, and it is very important. We are going to align to the company goals and to talk about security while we talk about alignment with business and security and company goals. It's not that trivial, but we've decided that it's very crucial for us to talk the same way that the rest of the company talks. So you can see here, I'm not going to talk and get into the details, but we have a few guidelines and a few themes that we want to apply across the company, like keeping stuff simple, be obsessed about our customers. So if you remember, my top high-value asset is customers, and it's not something random.